Almost 2,000 years ago, a group of people in feudal Japan found themselves pushed further and further away from the mainstream of society as they refused to give up their spiritual beliefs to the imposed conformity of the ruling class. The ruling power made it illegal for common people to carry or own the deadliest weapon of the time, a finely edged sword. So these people had to learn to defend themselves in different ways, to walk the path of their own chosen desire and to blend in so as not to attract attention. They learned survival skills so unsurpassed that the name ninja became feared by all who heard it. But the primary concern, then as now, was to live and to let live in peace and harmony so that all mankind can reach their own levels of heightened enlightenment. This black belt home study course is designed to set you on the path. Nenpo will give you the power to overcome life's obstacles by coming out on top. And the skills you will learn in this series will give you the flexibility to roll with life's everyday punches, the courage to climb above life's obstacles. Only your own discipline and perseverance can carry you through to the finish. Your goal of receiving a black belt and all that it stands for. And view life from a different perspective from that uncluttered height. And what the insights that you've gained will help you to slice through all the things that are holding you back from being all that you can be. You may find that instead of being caught up in fights that don't concern you, you can just hang out and observe. Unless, of course, you need to take action, and then who knows? You may be so dazzling they don't even know what hit them. We will study from the traditional schools of Kumigakureru, Kotoru, Tagakureru, Gyokushinru, Gikanru, Gyokuru, Tagagiyoshinru, Shinden Fururu, Kuki Shinden Rus of Grandmaster Masaaki Hatomi of the Budzinkan system. I am proud to present this black belt home study course.
First cue. At first cue, we begin to learn to use our body in new and exciting ways. First, in our own Kihon Happo, be able to do hinkas in different variations. Little ways of moving and turning the body in ways that make your opponent go to the ground faster, quicker, and sometimes even more effective. Be able to explore a little bit of kinds of ways for searching out variations in case you start to do one move and it starts to change on you, so that you can learn to take that person's body energy or their off-balance state to be able to complete your technique. We're also going to be going outside doing some Ninjutsu skills like Otanpo, going and learning how to crawl across the ground and stealth, maybe even going underwater and across bridges, hiding in bushes, all kinds of really neat and exciting things. Let's begin now. The Donk Taijutsu techniques of first cue, or Shizen Ken, of using all of your body, every part of your body as a weapon. Let me demonstrate this. As a person comes up with a punch that I may first use my fist. What's naturally closest next may be my elbow. So I maybe use my elbow. I can also take and just use my forearm against this person. I can slide back down and use my hand again. Since my fingers are there, I can reach in and grab a hold with my fingers. This hand's resting against this part of my body, so I can move in my body like this, taking my opponent to the ground. Once more, as an idea. It'd be hitting, using the elbow. His body is turned, so it'd be maybe a little different. My leg is right next to his leg. I can use my knee itself to take his body down. My hand's here. I can actually grab a hold of the shoulder, whatever is closest. Since I'd be pulling him back, I have a thumb. I can stick this in his back. I now have my arm, I feel, resting against his head, turn him over. His foot happened to lock on my leg, so I can move this forward, utilizing this leg and my leg to put pressure down on his. If I go down, my knee lands right on his back. My hand goes down naturally to his face. I could reach over, taking a hand. Every part As I come back up, it's just natural. Every piece that I do here, using all of my body. If his foot comes back, I can use that also. Well, it's here, take a toe, whatever. Natural use of all and every part and piece of the body in your training is very important. This is where you want to get to. A person could come up for a choke, or that if I just naturally moved, I had my hands in this position as he comes up, I'm just naturally turning. I could naturally turn the other way also, just here. Whatever is there is what I have to learn to work with. So I have this, I have a point I can take and put a pressure point on here. Digging in. Fingers, use the against the joints of the fingers. Can move and control my opponent very effectively with just one finger alone. Knee is there, so I take that. Maybe knee again. I want to use all of my body and every motion of my body to utilize to do an attack, even if I'm just walking away. Maybe he's grabbed me up, comes up, and he actually gets a hold of me. That if this natural energy is for pulling me in, I just use my head and my knee at the same time, which puts over I can use my other knee. Every part of your body is a weapon. You don't want to think of just being able to do punches or just throwing some kind of kick. Every part and piece of your body is a weapon. And you need to be able to take whatever is naturally there. If something's there, I don't have to want to pull my hand back to do some kind of punch. It's unnatural. If my elbow is there, use my elbow. If it happens to be just the back of my arm, use the back of my arm. Turn it into the different kinds of strikes and the different kinds of aspects that you use natural with your body, and practice using each of the different postures as you do this. By the time that you're reaching in second kyu, the Dokken Taijutsu levels, that you should start working on your proficiency of all the techniques that you've learned to this time. These need to be mastered by the time that you attempt your Shodan test.
The next technique we want to work on is one of the aspects of Dokken Taijutsu of using both feet at the same time, similar to the waza hito. What I want to do is I want to jump up and kick my opponent using both feet at the same time. I can either use the heel of my foot, as in the forward stomp kick, or I can use the ball of my foot. Against an opponent, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump up and kick him with both feet simultaneously in the chest area. Coming back and doing a back roll. Once more. At all times, you want to maintain focus on your opponent. If you feel yourself falling backwards, you want to keep an eye on your opponent, do your back roll, and then focus on your opponent once more. Coming up in Kamae, ready to fight again. Some of the aspects of Dokken Taijutsu, using both feet at the same time.
Kosujutsu. Kosujutsu is the art of attacking organs, attacking muscles on the body, attacking nerve points, pressure points on the body in ways that could restrain or damage your attacker depending on the intent of the situation. Let's examine a few points and pieces of Kosujutsu. The first way to learn nerve-type points on a person's body is really to practice on your own, or to get a partner to where you just like press around on the body, and if you get some kind of point that makes some kind of effect on them. You notice that his arm was dropping there. That you can find to where you get just the point itself. Each person's body is going to be a little bit different, so you might have to move just a little bit. But there are points all along the wrist itself. You can get them on sometimes on the top of the hands, inside faces here, inside here, inside the web of the hand. You can basically do this and just work up the body. Coming in, usually at the joints is where they're usually the most painful. inside each piece of each of the arm, so that in a fighting situation you can attack these and disable your attacker, especially later when you learn to run energy through a person's body. What you see the effect is having my opponent is more by not just the pressure point, but I'm running energy along these particular nerve points and nerve endings that make it look more effective than what it really is. And it does, and the pain, as you can tell, is just momentarily. It's not something that lasts a long time, but if all I do is just this much time, that gives me plenty of time to restrain my attacker without doing major damage. Of course, there are many, many points inside to where you can go inside in the throat. You can go down in here. Just the finger, just inside this bone here, just deep down in here. Some people are very sensitive. Also in here, you have to be very, very careful on these points. Of course, up underneath the jaw, up underneath the ear, up in the temples. Could be in the nose, could be attacking any of these points in here, pain in the body. That's the one thing, as I said, is to practice these particular things. Attacks to also to organs and stuff, direct attacks, are going to cause momentary and even sometimes permanent damage. Thumbs into the back of the base, into the kidneys. You know, any attacks inside into attacking the organs in any kind of way. It could be ripping motions, deep, where you're grabbing in, that's attacking. It's actually attacking deeper in here. It could be punching into certain organs, things that would stop the heart. You can also attack just the muscles themselves. As in the Kobo-jitsu, we're actually attacking the bones themselves. In Koshi-jitsu, we practice attacking the muscles. It could be where I'm actually doing a grab, where I'm grabbing, ripping on these muscles, trying to rip or to tear them. It also could be as if I'm doing some kind of pull on something as I'm pulling them, pulling to stretch, to tear or lengthen these muscles in ways that they don't normally go. It also could be to where I'm actually in here doing grabs on the muscle tissues. Instead of attacking the organ here, instead I'm pulling down, I'm ripping on part of the muscles. That's the same thing as we did on the leg and stuff here earlier. Even though that's a pain, where really I'm inducing the pain through the nerves and through ripping the muscles, that truly is a Koshi-jitsu attack. All of the atami, or most all of them, when I was going through and teaching you the different kinds of chokes and grabs, those are attacking and using Koshi-jitsu. This is something that you want to really carefully practice. You want to do this on your own self, and feel where those points are. You can take and get little markers and mark so that you know where they are, practice getting them. But as you play around, as you're doing your taijutsu, every once in a while you want to take and find those pressure points. Remember, if it's being done to you and it's too painful, always do a tap. Just let your partner know just how much pain that you're putting on. The intent is not to do damage. It's to learn to do these techniques to restrain an attacker without having to do major damage to them.
Next thing we're going to be working on are basic variations of the Kihon Happo. First, I'll start by demonstrating variations of Onikudaki. The opponent grabs from here, flowing back. As I move in, get in the hold this way, I'm going to step my right leg back around, kneeling down, dropping my opponent. You need to be very careful because your opponent will go off from your knee, sometimes even striking into your knee and then being thrown to the ground. So this move must be done very slow and careful. Once from the other side, flowing back, taking the lock, taking the rear leg around. I'm going very slow and careful so my opponent is not to strike on my knee real hard. Again, back to here, raising his hand up. I shift in, turn, down. Another variation, Onikudaki. From here, this is the opponent grabs. As soon as he grabs, immediately turning in to here. Now I'll take my right leg, stepping behind. Down. Again. As soon as he grabs, immediately coming in for the move, step my right leg behind. Taking him down. One more time. Just as you start to get your lock. Maybe a punch is coming from the other side. So I'll step behind you. Going down. Some basic variations from the Kihon Happo of Onikudaki.
The next technique we want to work on is Ura Gьяку. We're going to work on some very different variations of the basic technique. So in the basic technique, we're falling back first and then executing the throw. In more advanced versions of this throw, I want to just do this all at once. Realizing that this technique is done with the movement of the body as you turn the hand. He grabs. As I turn his hand, I sink my body down, turning my upper body. I don't want to do this with my hands and expect him to fall. He's much stronger than I am, and that might not work. As I turn my body and sink my weight down. That's what does the throw. Also, from another angle, here, reaching over, making sure you're getting this knuckle point here with the thumb. If his grip is too strong, pushing with this hand here as you rotate him over. Sinking my weight down. This can also be done from a punch. As he punches, I want to evade from his outside. Rolling his hand here, placing my wrist to the inside of his wrist. As I roll his hand, it places the back of his hand right conveniently into my hand for the technique. Once more from another angle. Slowly doing this, you want to take the momentum of his punch along with him, forward, continuing his punch, finishing up with any sort of technique that you choose. Some different variations of Ura Gьяку.
Next, we're going to be covering some variations of Oмотэ Gьяku. We'll first start off by opponent grabbing our lapel. One-hand lapel grab. From here, we're going to work on just dropping back, adding a little subtlety of my elbow coming underneath his elbow. Right here. Straighten his arm up. From here, I'll use the other hand, lifting up in the air this way, stepping back, dropping the opponent down. Other side. As the opponent grabs, stepping back, raising my elbow up, locking their elbow out here. Up, down here. Okay, again. He grabs, stepping also straight back, and then taking the wrist directly towards him. One more time, same thing. As he grabs, dropping straight back, lifting the elbow up this way. Now take the wrist directly towards him. And one more. From a basic grab, we'll step out to the side. Just as the opponent grabs, placing my hand right here, stepping off to the side. Using my entire body to move my opponent's wrist. This side, please. So instead of using my arms and trying to torque him over this way, I'm going to weight shift back with my entire body, turning my entire body to turn his wrist. A small thing you want to think about when doing this, as I'm dropping back and turning, I can have my other arm come up here, slightly raising up to catch the elbow. Helps to lock out this arm and keep your opponent a little bit of a distance. Again, from here, dropping back to the inside, having this arm poked just inside of the elbow, weight shift back toward my entire body. Some basic variations of Oмотэ Gьяку.
Variations of Musha Dori, or warrior take. Let's look at a few of these. Person comes up and grabs. General technique is usually falling back, going to this arm. But there's no reason why, if I pull this arm down and bend this elbow, that I can't slide my hand in here, even as I'm stepping forward, and take the opposite arm instead. Once more. As I'm falling back here, I already have this hand here. I can just slide this in here as I'm moving forward, shift back to the opposite side. Now, in any way that I move my body, my training partner goes to the ground. I also can take, as I start out here, come back over his face, and do it as in a reverse pattern. Another variation here is I fall back and jump up, coming down. Getting the reversal. I can also hold onto this other arm. Turn it underneath. So I have this trap taking this person down. Some more from another angle. Fall back. Once more from another angle. I can jump up here, hit into this leg, then come up, turn taking down. A couple of the key points of this move is that I want this bend in the arm. I can create that bend in the arm by even pushing it into the side of his body and just pull it back up even in front of me. Pulling up, his body turns. Or work into some kind of advanced form or choke. Again, take off balance first, take the arm as it falls. There's a couple aspects to play with Mosha Dori.
Our next technique is some basic variations of Gансеки Наге. From here, we'll start off the technique just as we start Gансеки Naге, working in some basic variations. From here, sliding around here. Just as we get the arm up on top of your shoulder, bring my elbow, drive the opponent down. Again, shifting back, going underneath. Just as I'm coming over the top, use my elbow to drive the opponent down. And from there I can just shift my body in any direction. Once he's down to this point, he's completely off balance. Another angle. Here. Stopping here. Maybe he's not going down as far. Okay? So, I drop down. Okay? Again. Here. Dropping straight down. Another idea for Gансеки Naге. Here, coming here, going to the face, switching feet behind. From another angle, here, go right to the face, so I switch feet behind my opponent, and down. One last time. Here. Once you get the opponent to this point, you can do strikes into the head, using my elbow, my knee. And from here you can take him to any direction. Basic variations of Gансеки Naге.
In using the Hinka variations of the Kihon Happo, that you want to be able to move from each of these variations to another variation depending on the position of your opponent and the response to the technique that you're doing. There's a couple drills to learn how to do that. Before I teach you that, I want to show you some aspects that are very, very important in learning these concepts. As your training partner comes up and grabs, I don't want to wait till he gets a grab on me. And the lower levels of training, it will be to when the person has an actual grab, so I can feel this difference if I'm being pulled off balance. So I can feel these kind of sensitivities. This is very important in the training. What's also important in the training is that's a worst case scenario. I don't want to get in the habit of always somebody grabbing a hold of me. I never want anybody to put their hands on me if I don't want them to. If the person reaches out to grab the hold, all I have to do is just move this hand away. Of course, I can go back into some kind of stance or posture and then just take the person down. You want to practice these drills so they become very familiar. As a person reaches out to grab a hold, that you just move the hands out of the way, inside and outside, without doing anything. Make sure you do the left side and the right side, so they just move. Kind of like we were doing in Sawari Waza forms, because it's very easy moving into inside, outside type throws. It's very easy moving into every kind of technique that you can possibly imagine, whether they be of the Kihon Happo or not of the Kihon Happo. So it's also, of course, of Ganseki Nage, moving it out of the way, sliding up to do a throw. These also can be practiced against a punch itself. So if a ski is actually coming, boom, right into my face, I first want to learn not to be there. This is what we teach. The same techniques that we do off a grab can be done against this punch with a ski. It's very easy just to take the hand, turn first the wrist, taking person to the ground. Either side. Okay? Once more. Taking the punch here, using all of my body, turning the wrist over, taking the person down, controlling where they fall. Once more. Person punch, ski, I can also fall back, hitting. Taking this arm, doing techniques and adding to them of Musha Dori. Once more, the other side, boom, falling out immediately, wow, right there. Quick, automatic. Boom, sliding in. Smash, hit. Gансеки Nage. More Moucha Dori. Can let go of the arm, still be on my attacker. Once more. Konakaraki. Once more on the other side. Boom, just catching the hand out of the way. Natural. Once more, Konakaraki. This comes, I'm just moving this out of the way. This could be in here first, or punching through as I'm moving in automatically. You might want to do it in a slow progression first, and then work on to where it's just here. But you have to be very careful with your opponent, your training and with your training partner, because this can break an arm, especially with your training partner. Once more, just catching. So all I have to do is just turn my feet. Just drop right into the technique, and my opponent drops, my training partner drops also. So basic ideas of reverse Ganseki Nage, variation, being trapped. So in all these, the moves of these, it just continues with my attacker using his energy to flow on by. As you'll see as we start moving into some Nage wazas in just a moment. Nage wazas are throwing your opponent in specialized techniques. But primarily what I really would like to teach you now, even though you have been practicing taking your training partner and opponents, if necessary, to the ground effectively, I'd like to teach you some concepts of that and some ways of throwing, so that you can have some ideas that when you're in a certain position where you can actually take them up off of the ground and take them down just a little bit harder. You need to practice lower on the ground so there's not so much damage to your training partner, but as you progress later on in this art, you need to learn how to do that only to the level of that of your training partner. Not to the level of your ability to throw, but the level of your training partner to go to the ground. You need to be able to judge that so that there is no injuries. Let's begin. Person comes in with any kind of attack at all. It doesn't really matter. One thing that I want to point out is that any point at all on the person's body, if I take that to the ground, the rest of the body follows. It's a simple concept, but it's one that seems to be forgotten in lots of martial arts. If I take this point that I have right here and I take this elbow to the ground, the whole rest of the body goes to the ground. It's a very, very important part, because I've seen lots of people trying to throw, and they go like this to throw, and they're wondering why the person isn't going all the way to the ground. But if I take the hand to the ground, the rest of the body goes to the ground. So we'll demonstrate here. If the person punches, I just take this hand down. They have to follow because they're attached. It's the same thing with any other part of the body. The person throws a punch, and I grab a hold of the back of the knee, down they go. A little higher level throw as they punch. Don't even have to touch them. It's not really falling for me, but that's okay. Just, I want you to punch like you're punching here, and just let me do with whatever. Otherwise, you stay up. Okay?
I'm going all the way through my punch.
All right. So what's happening? Do you feel energy or something's going on? Or what?
You're not there.
Yes, I am. Watch. Cookie Nage. It's a little advanced. Capturing the arm. Once more. Person punches, other side, please. Punches here, just capturing part of the body. In throwing, you don't have to catch all of the body. You only have to catch maybe a little piece of the body. Once more. So, I'm catching one little piece. I'm just over, straight. Once more. Just coming over the arm, around, throw. Once more. Coming over, reversing the shoulder, rocking my body forward to finish the throw. Once more in a natural progression, I'm just catching here. There you go. Person comes in to punch, sliding up underneath the arm. I can't take off balance with this knee in any form to break body balance. I'm going to continue though with his body energy as it was coming forward and take and do a throw where I move my body in to his body, throwing. Once more from the other side. I'm coming in, catching a hold of this arm, throwing, and could be locking or adding some kind of other technique. Any kind of grab or throw of the arm is basically known as Seo Nage. Under here, I could be punching in here, could be grappling in here, tight, any kind of movement, just bringing my foot back, takes this person down. Remembering to have some kind of restricting hold on your attacker if need be. You could also take the arm here, down. Some more from the other side. Catch it here, down. Catching here, turning, down. Stay down here, down. Nage waza. Catch here. If it doesn't work, come back around again, down. Catching the right angle, just here. Very subtle. Throwing. Also take up underneath, taking the head itself. I could let go of the arm, or I can hold the arm. Down on one leg. Once more. I'm sliding in here myself. Different forms and aspects of different throws. Could be where I just stepped out to the side, taking in with my own leg to take him down. Any way of taking my opponent to the ground is actually a nage or a throw. This can be just simple variations of utilizing your legs. You can also take here and step inside the body to where I'm rotating with my hip, so it comes up, over, and down. It can be just barely off the hip, or it can also be over where I step in deeper, where it's actually over my back. Or I can slide more in here, so it's actually more over my back. As my partner comes up and grabs, all I have to do is just reach a hold of muscle tissue and just pull down, taking his body to the ground. I also can take and rip into throw. I could move this to the side, grabbing here, taking down. Any kind of thing at all. Grab a hold of the ears. Also, down. Forms of nage wazas. Chapter comes, some ideas of some pain throws, because again I can rip into these muscles, just taking the person down. Anything at all that gets my opponent to be able to fall is a throw. Maybe like knocking, but I'm actually throwing him back off by pushing his head behind him. I can also jump here. Moving here, taking hold of the hair. I can go straight down, or I can throw the other way. These are more pain throws, or reach in here, grab a hold of the body itself, throw. Reaching right underneath the armpits themselves. Continuing down. These can be in the middle of where I'm reaching up, moving the arm. Using that pain actually helps throw the opponent away from you. You can also use aspects of kyojutsu to throw or to take your opponent off balance. Throwing is not just doing the physical things that we're doing, but it's also dealing with attacking the energies of the other person, or just breaking their mind balance just for a moment. As in, if a person is really punching at speed, he doesn't know what's happening with this. Without even hitting him, I'm getting his eye and his head to move. So they come and they're doing attacks. I don't even have to do the technique yet, and I'm getting a response in his body. And psychologically, he doesn't know what's happening at all until I actually do a technique. It completely gets his mind, his focus, and everything off of the actual attack. I can also just not be there to do those things first, then continue in some kind of way of taking his body off balance and taking him to the ground. Once more, it's just... The first weapon of first kyu is mitsubishi. We're using blinding powders or ways of distracting and blinding. It could be just your natural fingers, boom, right into somebody's eyes, flicking them into the eyes. Something that creates a distraction. It could be things like powders that go into their eyes or creates a fog or a focus so that they can't really see what's going on, so that you can utilize that to be able to do some kind of disarming or restraining techniques. Done in ancient times and from Tagakure-ryu, when an attacker attacked with a sword, you would have one of these maybe hidden. Not necessarily they didn't wear gis in the 1600s, but they would have it some kind of place on their body. They could take out this egg, break it open as they were throwing these powders out into somebody's face. They could actually be poisons that actually poison somebody. Somebody's trying to cut them or kill them or their family. To make these in a practical way that's very, very safe is that you take just a regular egg. And you take the egg and you make a small hole in the bottom, a very, very small hole, and a larger hole in the top. You can take and then just blow through one end, blowing all the egg out into a dish so that you can eat the egg later. You need to let them dry out for a day or two. And you take and put a piece of tape. You can use tape, you can use wax to plug up the hole. Take and fill it full of like baby powder, some kind of talcum or cornstarch. Major secret, baby powder. It's fun, smells good. And filling it up almost all the way to the top, leaving a little bit of air space so that when it gets crushed in the hand, that the powders can escape with the air that's in the egg. You'll find that these eggs are a lot stronger than you think they are. You'll have to break them against the body somewhere, against your own hand, against your leg. Can't even be against your opponent actually also. We'll demonstrate some of these and we'll take you outdoors to watch a scene of using Mitsubishi.
I guess I got Oh, you got me just lovely taste.
I guess I was accurate here.
Yeah. I like the smell too. Yeah. Fresh and clean.
Yeah, a little baby powder. Never hurt anybody.
The second weapon of first kyu is Goketsu Shoge. Goketsu Shoge was actually made of farming tools. In ancient Japan, it was against the law or illegal by many, many shoguns in different periods of Japan for regular people to be able to have a sword or a live blade for their protection. Many samurai kind of run around actually taking advantage of that situation, killing many people, practicing being able to use their swords on real people. To be able to protect themselves against these things as they were working in their farm, they would take and they would use the farm implements that they had and make them into different kinds of weapons. The Goketsu Shoge is one of those such weapons. This ring that you see that here that's made out of rubber, that used to be made out of solid metal and on an ox cart. There's a ring on a cart itself or on the side of a wagon. The rope that you see that we're using here actually usually was made out of some kind of metal. It's a metal chain. It also could have been a rope, just as this is a rope, made out of different kinds of fibers. What you're seeing in my hand here is a simulation of an actual live blade that would have an edge on this curve, an edge on this curve, and an edge on this point as a knife. This was used as a farming tool to be able to dig in the ground, to create rows, to be able to plant seeds. You could cut trees, bushes, you could do lots of different farming needs. Putting these together could be very simply smuggled into any kind of place because they're not so obvious, because this is something natural that they would actually have in their possession already. They necessarily wouldn't be all together in one place. That the ring could be in the back of the board. This blade could be just sitting where it actually sat in somebody's bag or hidden in a haystack or whatever. You naturally wouldn't hide it somewhere it was naturally obvious that it was hidden, but it could be just as a natural part of their everyday life. But put together very quickly, very simply, by just tying a few knots on each end, this could be utilized as an actual weapon when they're traveling down the road in case they were attacked by some kind of samurai or somebody else. The weapon has a lot of length, which is a major advantage of this because they could create a lot of distance for themselves against an attacker to keep an attacker away from them, especially being at a disadvantage of not having a sword themselves. One way of bringing this weapon close to me and also to determine the length that's more appropriate for me to be able to use this is I like to think of this as having two arms lengths. If I stretch out my arms like it is in Hira, and my hand comes back into the other hand, coming back out, the ring should be just at the end. We'll show you some uses of that in just a moment. Of course, I'd want to be doing taijutsu in that so that I may step back with one step, and as I'm turning, coming back, getting a hold with the other end. I do want to tell you that this ring itself needs to be made out of rubber, such as this doggy ring that you can get at a dog store or pet shop. If not, if you have one that's actually metal, you want to make sure that you wrap that with a lot of foam and some tape on it to make it very soft. These are very, very dangerous, even though they are pliable when they hit. If hit hard, they can actually break bones and cut open things. So be very, very careful on these because you do actual swinging types attacks. Even the rubber one, sometimes it's a good idea to put some foam on it, especially if you're actually doing realistic training. Make sure that you train with a simulation wood knife on the end so that you don't cause any injuries, especially metal ones are very, very easily, and do not practice with real live ones because it's very, very dangerous. This weapon has lots and lots of versatility. One of the things is the ability to utilize the length of this rope and of the ring and lots of different kind of striking. Primarily we like to use this in a circle. So if I'm going to do this, I can actually do this with the wrist itself in the beginning, but I also want to be able to do this with my body. So I can create this motion. It also causes a distraction because I do not know when I'm going to let go of it. So lots of length of this. Very easy to move back again. Switching directions can also come from underneath as well as from over on top. Making sure that you don't hit yourself. It also can come from over the top. Take a look at this once more. Just releases out of the hand. Taking a look at this once more, doing it a little bit slower. It naturally just can come all the way out of the hand, releasing the hand. I also can take this and have it come out and come back. Comes down, I can pull it back again, controlling the different length. Once more, I can actually send this out, pull it back again, now coming back over the top. Practice with the variations. Practice with the variations and controls of this. Practice with the variations, controls of this. Coming out, coming back. One of the ways of learning to control the actual length is by determining that ahead of time. Creating small loops in each of the fingers will give me the ability to release only parts of this a little at a time. So that when I want to let this out, then I can let this go one finger and it only goes so far. I can take and let go of another finger and get even more length. This is very valuable in that if making an attacker think that I've only got so much length on my weapon, when indeed I have a whole extra 6 feet. Even the difference of 1 foot can make all the difference, especially against somebody attacking me with a blade or a sword. Another way to get distance is for me to switch and go over the top. You can hear the spin. Change to low, or change it back up to high by where I'm placing my hand and the movement of the body. Person's come to attack. I have major range here in attacking right where he's holding his hands. You come right back down on the blade itself. Oops, sorry.